Oh, hello. Welcome back to my filthy desk. I'm doing another bit of lore reading. And today's lore has been put together by your friend and mine, Editor Nick.
Nick's going gang. Oh, yeah.
And it's on the Darksiders series, which he really, really likes. So things are going to get a little biblical, I fear. I've just noticed it takes 3 pages to get to Darksiders 1. I have a feeling we're going to be here a while. From the dawn of creation, the Charred Council, you don't capitalise the T, Nick, has maintained the balance across existence. But you do capitalise the word balance, apparently, like it's a proper noun. Balance, trademark Tony Hawk. Carrying out their orders are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Ooh, I know them. Strife, War, Death and Fury. Maybe I don't know them. I'm sure I've been over this before, but surely strife and fury and war sort of cancel each other out. Aren't they all kind of the same thing? Nephilim, powerful beings spawned from the unnatural union of angels and demons, who have pledged themselves to the council and been granted immense power. However, this power came at a tragic cost. The horsemen were ordered to use their newfound strength to wipe out the rest of their kind. Man, how many Nephilim were there? How much discreet angel and demon knocking about was going on behind the scenes? What followed was a bloody battle on Eden, where the horsemen, obeying the will of the council, annihilated the Nephilim. Eden was crafted by the Creator for the habitation of humanity. Nick has helpfully provided links to the Darksiders wiki for the pages relating to Creator and humanity. But you know what? I think I'm good. I think I know what those are. A paradise world where the inhabitants would live in tranquil splendour, but when it was bequeathed to the humanity, the ravenous Nephilim attacked. Led by their warlord Absalom, who was an absolute one, the goal of the Nephilim was nothing less than the total conquest of Eden. You know, in defence of the Nephilim, why the fuck are humanity getting the nice, tranquil splendour paradise realm? The shittiest beings. I mean, they don't even have superpowers. It's like those stories about old ladies leaving their mansions to their cats. If the third kingdom had to be ground underfoot to achieve this, then so be it. Okay, there's no link to Third Kingdom, so I guess we're supposed to know what that is. Eden was ravaged by war for an unknown period of time, during which countless beings lost their lives in defense of mankind and its newborn home. Well, the home wasn't born. It wasn't until the 4 horsemen swore themselves to the Charred Council that the conflict began to turn in favour of the defenders. Yeah, we knew they did that. You already said they did that. Led by their eldest brother, Death, the 4 horsemen purged the Nephilim from the fields of Eden, destroying their own race for the sake of preserving the great balance. In the aftermath, mankind was relocated to the world of Earth, and Eden was utterly abandoned. Many of the weapons of mass destruction employed by both sides simply lay rusting where they fell, strewn across the lifeless, tattered remains of mankind's first true cradle. A host of angels were dispatched from the White City, led by Abaddon, who was a bad one, to guard the borders of Eden so that its forgotten battlefields may remain undisturbed. At the heart of Eden rests the Tree of Knowledge. So where did Adam and Eve come into all of this? I mean, my understanding was that they were banished from Eden because God disapproved of them putting on leafy pants for the first time. But apparently it was because they were all getting moved into council housing, and the old place was getting turned into a war memorial. The 4 horsemen became the last of the Nephilim in all of creation, the souls of their brothers and sisters sealed away and entrusted to the Crow-Father. Other than the Crow-Father and possibly Lilith, none but Death, who collected the souls personally, knew of this. No links to a page for Lilith? I'm guessing that's probably not important. The council had ordered the souls be cast into the abyss. It was speculated later by Strife, however, that the Nephilim were perhaps not so great a threat to the balance as the council made them out to be, and that the extermination may have been a test of the horsemen's loyalty. I mean, both could be true. One thing can serve 2 purposes. Maybe the Nephilim were a great threat, and the horsemen were given a test of loyalty. I mean, when I tell my kids to go to bed at 7 o'clock, I tell them it's because it's important to get a good night's sleep, but also, incidentally, I want to watch softcore porn. Ooh, Phil Collins. After the 4 horsemen have attacked and decimated the Nephilim in Eden, decimated means reduced by 1/10. They are summoned by the Charred Council. Is that annoying? The old teeth-sucking thing? Probably will be now I've pointed it out. The council suspects that the Demon King Lucifer is planning something with Samael to upset the balance and orders War and Strife to investigate. Oh, I know this game. This was that top-down thing that nobody liked. After invading Samael's keep, they find it under attack from another Master of Hell. Get your red string boards ready. A lesser one, Moloch. Samael informs them that he is not in league with Lucifer, and the current attack on him is the result of that. Before he can say anything else, Moloch attacks, and Samael teleports the horsemen to the Void to find and talk to his associate. Now, why would he be in the Void? There's nothing in the Void. The horsemen travel through the Void and find Vulgrim to be the associate Samael spoke of. Vulgrim informs them he can help track down Lucifer, but he needs several artifacts. Yeah, nice hustle, Vulgrim. The artifacts are a bag of Doritos and a Slurpee from the 7-Eleven on the corner. After collecting the required artifacts, Vulgrim informs them that Lucifer has paid a visit to Mammon, another Master of Hell. Okay, I'm trying to keep this track in my head. Lucifer, Moloch, Mammon, Hell, Samael, Abaddon, the Creator, Heaven. Yes? Yes. Yes. Samael arrives at this point and suggests that the horsemen find Mammon and make him talk about Lucifer. They find Mammon with several relics and weapons from Eden. After killing him, which was necessary for reasons left unsaid, the horsemen return to Vulgrim and Samael, where they learn that Lucifer has opened a path to Eden, bringing its sacred water and turning it into poison. The demon Belial is in charge of this operation. Another red string. After stopping the operation, they confront and defeat Belial, but spare him. But after the horsemen leave, Lucifer arrives and torture him. Hey Nick, maybe you could have run this past a real editor? The horsemen learn that Dagon, the drowned king, is also helping Lucifer. So was Belial helping Lucifer? Yes, Belial was helping Lucifer, but then Lucifer tortured him. And Dagon is also helping Lucifer, as Lucifer has offered Eden to him. Meanwhile, they meet Abaddon, the guardian angel of Eden. He informs them that Lucifer is spreading corruption, and asks them to help him cleanse Eden. Afterwards, the horsemen track down and kill Dagon. They return to the Void, and Samael advises them to destroy the source of Moloch's power before they attack him. They do so together with Samael. They attack and kill Moloch. However, before his death, Moloch tells them that Lucifer's plan is complete, and Samael knows about it. After returning to the Void, Samael tells the horsemen that Lucifer had asked for the souls of the Masters of Hell after their death in exchange for their services. Samael also tells them that Lilith is plotting with Lucifer as well, and together they have made an artifact called the Animus. Oh no, they're going to go back in time and remember when they were a 11th century assassin, which is fueled by the souls of the Masters of Heaven and Hell who had accepted Lucifer's offer. Okay. I think I'm with you so far. Souls of everyone who's died so far went into MacGuffin. Gotcha. This artifact is used on Earth to corrupt mankind, turning them into the volatile and self-destructive species they grow to become later on. Now, I very much doubt humanity needed help in that area, Lucifer. The horsemen go to Earth to find mankind living in sin, and realize that they have helped Lucifer achieve his goal. Lucifer talks to them through a human child, and tells the horsemen that the corruption of humankind is spreading and cannot be stopped. Afterwards, they return to the Charred Council, who declares that humankind needs to be watched as a third kingdom. So that's where that came from. They then forge the Seven Seals as a treaty to uphold the balance between heaven and hell. 3 of them coming from the demonic planes, and 3 more coming from the angelic keeps, and 1 from the council itself. And, 1 to in the darkness bind them. They declare whoever breaks the treaty shall suffer the wrath of the horsemen. Comma, and then new section. Cool. Darksiders, here we go. Earth was in the midst of its modern age, still living in sin, presumably, when the apocalypse began prematurely. Humanity, originally protected by treaties between heaven and hell so that it could reach its full potential for sin, was unprepared and annihilated in the crossfire between the two sides. The kingdom of man was meant to fight on equal footing with the other kingdoms, but they had no chance in the early End War. The apocalypse had begun prematurely as the result of a conspiracy between Azrael, Abaddon, and Ulthane. Well, that's 2 more names. The plan was for Ulthane to destroy 6 of the seals with the Armageddon blade and reforge them, and begin the final battle early. The premature apocalypse would compel Hell to send its warriors into battle before they were ready, where Abaddon and the Hell Guard would meet and slay them all, crippling if not destroying Hell's army once and for all. The crux of the plan was to revolve around the fact... It already revolves around the crux. That's what a crux is. The crux of the plan was the fact that the demons had ridden to war despite the seventh seal not being broken. This would make it appear that the demons had contrived the early assault themselves, and if pressed to account for themselves, according to Abaddon, it will be our word, heaven's word, against the Prince of Lies. Yeah, it's a poor negotiation position, isn't it? Unfortunately, the demons were prepared, and Abaddon was defeated. The Charred Council knew of this, but realised that the horsemen would not enact justice because of the lack of proof. Thus they conspired to send War, and let him take the blame that he would pursue the guilty out of revenge. During the initial battle, War descended to Earth and bore witness to the start of mankind's fall. After falling in battle with Straga, his soul was banished to the Abyss, not the same place as the Void, I don't think, not to return to Earth until the Charred Council sent him back a century later to slay the Destroyer and the conspirators that triggered the early apocalypse. By that time, most of the Earth's surface had been reduced to ruin in Hell's victory, reduced to... overuse of the word reduced there. Reduced to crumbling structures, seas of ash and demonic growth scarring the blasted landscape. Only a handful of angels hadn't retreated to the White City, and all that remained of humanity were undead, serving the realm's demon rulers and feral wicked. Was a good musical, though, prowling the skeletons of its once great civilizations. In order to learn how to reach the Destroyer, Hell's general on Earth, and undo the mess War has allegedly caused, War frees Samael, a powerful demon. Samael promises to tell him how to accomplish his goal, but in exchange War must track down the Chosen of Hell and bring him their hearts. War agrees. War eventually succeeds in bringing all of the hearts to Samael. Ooh, skipped ahead a bit there, and in the process regaining some of his power while Samael also grows in strength. True to his word, Samael shows War the way to the Black Throne, where Straga resides. There, War finds Azrael, the Archangel of Death, imprisoned. Azrael, upon being freed, sheds some light on War's situation. The reason for the apocalypse starting early was Azrael and Abaddon themselves. Fearing Hell's power, the angels decided they would trick Hell into starting the apocalypse by destroying the seven seals, except the last one, which would have summoned all the horsemen, and they didn't want that. We already knew that, didn't we? The seals would then be reforged by a Maker, an ancient race of world builders, so as to cover their tracks. However, things clearly went wrong, as Abaddon greatly underestimated Hell's current might and was struck down by Straga. Well, the best laid plans of mice and mythological beings. Afgang Akli. With evidence of his innocence, but not innocence of his evidence, War plans to return to the council, but the Watcher refuses to let him leave, ordering him to kill all those involved in this conspiracy. Straga eventually falls to War's blade, again skipping on a bit, and War, the Watcher, and Azrael escape to the Garden of Eden during the tower's collapse following Straga's death. There, War has a prophetic vision, which reveals new truths to him. Abaddon, upon being struck down, was offered a chance to become the Destroyer rather than face justice at the hands of the council. He agrees. War also learns that the council was aware of War's innocence the whole time, and knew a horseman was the only one who could take out Abaddon, now the Destroyer. However, a horseman would not act as an assassin, so they came up with a plan to frame War for the apocalypse, so that he would want to clear his name and make right what went wrong. Yes, we've gone over this like 3 times. He also learns that the mission was meant to be a suicide one, and saw his death at the hands of the Watcher at the quest's end. Even with this new information, War continues on his mission, as justice must be served, regardless of the reason he was put on his path. War assembles the Armageddon Blade, a sword capable of destroying the Destroyer. But then who would destroy things? How would I get my Kinder Surprises open to get at the toys inside? You don't think about these things. During this, he encounters Uriel, a high-ranking angel, and former comrade of Abaddon. She challenges him to a duel to the death in order to seek revenge for Abaddon's death, whom she blames War for. War defeats her, but lets her live, for now. War challenges the Destroyer, besting him in both his dragon and angelic forms, which he has. His quest complete, the Watcher attempts to kill War, but Uriel shows up and beats him to it. Afterwards, she destroys the 7th seal, which resurrects War, now free of the Watcher's control. War defeats the Watcher, and Uriel asks what he'll do next. War vows to take the fight to the council, fighting heaven and hell along the way. Uriel doubts his ability to take all that on alone, but he swears he will not be alone, as the 3 other horsemen, now summoned by the breaking of the 7th seal, streak across the sky to come to his aid. They streak, do they? Well, let's hope they put their clothes back on soon. Darksiders 2 takes place during the 100-year imprisonment of War following the Darksiders prologue. Man, this is supposed to be in chronological order, Nick. Except this time around, players take control of Death, the eldest and deadliest of the horsemen. Well, you gotta hope so. I mean, if you're called Death and you're not the deadliest one, that's like being called Delicious and not tasting like Bacardi. Death begins his journey in the Vale, an icy realm lorded over by the eldest of the Old Ones, the Crowfather, the Keeper of Secrets. Ah, we remember him. After making his way through the realm, Death confronts the maddened Crowfather, asking for his help in clearing War's name. The Crowfather states that it is a pointless, wasted effort since War is the victim of conspiracy. To this, Death reveals that he doesn't intend to clear War's name, but undo the crime he's accused of. To this end, the Crowfather reveals that the Tree of Life holds the secrets that Death is looking for, but he will only take him there if Death takes back the amulet containing the souls of the Nephilim. Death reluctantly refuses the bargain, prompting the Crowfather to transform into a copy of War and fights Death. The fight concludes with Death running the Old One through with his scythe, and the Crowfather opening the portal for Death. Yeah, shut up, Dad. However, with his final act, the Crowfather shatters the amulet and embeds it inside Death's chest. Embed spelt with an E, not an I, Nick. When Death awakens, he finds himself in the Forge Lands, home of the Makers, and is found by the village elder, Eldard. Aidard. I'm just going to call him Ted. Ted requests Death's help in dealing with the corruption plaguing the Forge Lands. Death claims that the corruption is not his concern, but they're attacked by it in the form of corrupted constructs. Ted states that the Tree of Life has been cut off by the corruption, and only thing capable of clearing it away is the Guardian. Wait, was the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge different things? I guess so, because this is the Forge Lands. To get Death to the Guardian, he needs the Maker's Key. In order to make the key, they will need to get the Fire of the Mountain and the Tears of the Mountain. Man, way to crib each other's style. Both of which have been cut off from the Maker's village Tristone by corruption. Tristone. Is that like the local movie production company? If I say something with a weird emphasis, just assume there's a capital letter on it, alright? Death travels through the Cauldron with slight assistance from the young Maker, Khan, where the fire is kept, and removes the seal that was keeping it from flowing into the Maker's Forge. Next, Death travels to the Drench Fort and kills the corrupted insect plant hybrid Karkinos and restores the Drench Fort. And I'm sure it was as quick as that. With this, a Maker's Key is created. Death is then told to find the Maker's construct known as the Warden, and that while he is not capable of clearing away the corruption as the Guardian, he can guide him to the Forge where the unfinished Guardian sleeps. Death finds and awakens the Warden, and it creates a bridge to the Forge. Death collects 3 Maker's Hearts to install them inside the Guardian, bringing it to life. Unfortunately, the 3rd heart turns out to be corrupted, and instead of reviving the Guardian as the Maker's weapon against the corruption, the hulking construct attacks the Makers. Death tracks down Ted and the Guardian. Ted is trying to reason with the massive construct, but ultimately the creature has fallen to corruption, and Ted asks Death to kill it. After killing it, Ted decides to use the last of his life force to revive the Guardian, this time free of the corruption. Death guides the now purified Guardian to the corruption, blocking the way to the tree. If this is like an entire page just to get to a tree. As Death approaches the tree, he is sucked inside it. Inside the tree, Death encounters the avatar of the corruption, whom claims to be Death's long-dead brother and first Nephilim, Absalom, who was an absolute one, you'll recall me saying. The tree spits Death out in the dead plains. Well, I guess Death will feel right at home there, where he encounters the merchant Ostagoth. Sorry, just looking how many scrolls we've got left till the 3rd game. Ostagoth claims that Death has been misled. No, someone got misled in this canon. The tree cannot give Death what he needs, but merely show him where to find it. What Death really needs is the Well of Souls, where the souls of the dead are channeled from the dead planes into the worlds of the living to be reborn. So where have they all been going after Earth got fucked? Maybe that'll come up. Ostagoth directs Death towards the Dead King, who's not the same person as Death. So there's King of the Dead, and there's Death. Now, I get the feeling these 2 characters won't get on. The king directs Death to the City of the Dead. Ugh, change the fucking record. Call it the Necropolis or something. Where the Well of Souls and a more recent soul that can help Death are located. Death arrives at the entrance to the Well of Souls, where he encounters an undead creature called the Wailing Host, which contains every one of mankind's souls. There they are! Death defeats the host and encounters the soul of the crow... Oh, hold your horses. Death defeats the host. Well, where are the souls going to go now? Are you going to keep them in a box? and encounters the soul of the Crowfather, whom claims that the job is not yet done. Crowfather states that Death merely released the souls of humanity back into a corrupt and broken well. According to the Crowfather, in order to gain access to the well and repair the damage done to it, Death will need 2 keys, one kept by the angels in their outpost at Lost Light, and the other held by the demons, believed to be kept in Samael's vault in Shadow's Edge. When Death questions why the 4 were never made aware of the well, the Crowfather reveals that the well also grants the ability to resurrect the Nephilim, a fact the Charred Council wished to keep from the Horsemen, since power must be tempered with ignorance. Yeah, that's not quite as snappy as Uncle Ben's line, is it? The Council feared the Horsemen might try to restore their kin. Well, for one, I probably wouldn't want to resurrect a family whom I had murdered. I feel like that would lead to a very awkward Thanksgiving dinner. Death goes after the key held by the angels, along the way meeting Archon, the last remaining angel free of the corruption that has overtaken the White City, and Uriel on Earth. After finding a bunch of pieces of more MacGuffins, do I detect a sarcastic note in your writing there, Nick? Death goes after the Scribe, whom Archon has said has the key. The Scribe reveals Archon's lie, saying that it was Archon who has the key. Nuh-uh, it was him. Nuh-uh, it was him. At this point, Death just needs to be like the school playground warden. I don't care who started it, everyone's getting punished now. Archon has gone mad after using his second sight to see the truth of Armageddon and learning of Abaddon's hand in it all. Death defeats Archon and retrieves the key. Now, Death sets his sights on Shadow's Edge, Samael's domain, which appears to be in ruin, suggesting the Demon Lord is no longer present. There he meets Lilith, the demon mother of the Nephilim. Oh, well, thank you for getting around to explaining that one. Lilith agrees to help him, and in exchange he must use the Well of Souls to resurrect the Nephilim, not humanity, when the time comes. Using the newfound powers of time, Death returns to a point in Shadow's Edge history where Samael was still there. Now come on. Power of death and power of time, that's too much. Save some for someone else. Death returns to a point in Shadow's Edge history where Samael was still there, and challenges him to combat for the key. Defeated, but not destroyed, Samael gives over the key. Back at the tree, Death uses the keys to enter the Well of Souls. There he encounters Absalom again. Absalom reveals he is not the source of the corruption, but instead it is Death who is responsible. The corruption formed from the guilt Death felt over the destruction of the Nephilim at his own hands. Absalom and Death fight, with Death being victories. I think you meant to say victorious. Though torn between choosing to resurrect the Nephilim and humanity, Death decides to bring back humanity in order to save his brother War. Meanwhile, Lilith stands before the judgment of her master, who chastises her for not giving him the army of Nephilim she promised, and instead, now humanity has returned to the balance. Good on ya. Hooray for Death. And this is the last one. Rejoice ye masses. Darksiders 3 takes place 10 years after the prologue of Darksiders 1. So before Darksiders 2, but before the large amount of events in Darksiders 1. My reading is if you're going to have a numbered sequel, it has to be later in the canon, surely. What's the point of numbering them otherwise? You might as well just call them Darksiders Banana, Darksiders Flannel, and Darksiders Lester Piggott. Darksiders 3 takes place 10 years after the prologue of Darksiders... Yeah, I said all that. And parallel to the events of the previous games in what is described as a dilapidated, war-torn planet Earth. Described where? It follows the protagonist, Fury, a mage who is described as the most unpredictable and enigmatic of the 4 horsemen and the rider of the Black Horse. And one of the last of the Nephilim, yeah, obviously. In her quest to hunt down and destroy the 7 deadly sins as ordered by the Charred Council. So the 7 deadly sins are unrelated to the 7 seals. Yes? What if the 7 deadly sins got hold of the 7 seals? Ooh, there's a movie crossover. Kevin Spacey having to cut the head off of Ingmar Bergman. Fury encounters the Lord of the Hollows, a powerful entity within the Hollows. Of course it's a powerful entity. They're all powerful entities. There's nothing but powerful entities. That helps Fury in her quest to destroy the 7 deadly sins, wielding power enabling both weary angels and demons to complete release from the cycle of life, death and rebirth of the Well of Souls. The Hollow Lord aids Fury, but his own goals remain unknown. Can I take a shot in the dark here and say the Hollow Lord's going to be the final boss? The Hollow Lord attempts to inform Fury that she's being manipulated by the Charred Council for their machinations, going so far as to call her ignorant and blind to their plans and lies. Though Fury denies it, the Lord of the Hollows nonetheless aids her by giving her the powers of elemental hollows to enhance her combat abilities, and instructs her to hunt down the demon Abraxas, a new one. and return his soul to him. As Fury takes one sin after another, skipping ahead, the Lord of Hollows continues to endow her with new hollows to aid in her mission. When she makes it to Abraxas' stronghold, Fury wants to know why the Lord of Hollows wants Abraxas dead. Abraxas tells Fury that a new Dark Lord is coming, and he's only known as the Destroyer. Yeah, that's all covered in Darksiders 1. The demon explains that the Lord of Hollows intends to hollow the mortal realm to install a new order. Ultimately, Pride will be the last two remaining sins left to face. After Fury defeats Pride, the sin reveals certain truths that have been kept from the Horseman for the longest time. Erstwhile Fury's watcher, who has been trailing her the whole time, reveals herself to be the true final sin, envy. So was it humanity that birthed the 7 deadly sins? I mean, we knew they were living in sin. Or did the 7 sins come to humanity and sort of administrate the whole living in sin thing? Tricking Fury and the Charred Council into helping her absorb the rest of the sins so she can gain their powers, Envy took the talisman and wielded all the might of the 7 deadly sins to combat her duplicitous handlers. Envy would make sport of Fury, who had been disabled by Pride's collapsing vigil, having absorbed her energy to weaken the horsemen in her debilitated state. Boy, that was an adventure of a sentence. Envy reveals to her captive audience that the council had been playing both the 7 and the riders against each other, intending for both to be destroyed in the ensuing battle. Envy, realising their chicanery early, took the appearance of one of their watchers to fool them both, all while their disposable enforcer gathered up the rest of her hated siblings as she guided Fury along her path to glory. With the other sins out of the way, Envy intends to face the Charred Council with her enhanced powers and take the broken world the two had traversed for her own. Leaving the now weakened Fury to take a steep fall. Fury survives her fatal inception with the help of the humans she saved, after realising just how far off the path of a horseman she'd gotten. Yeah, I mean, she wasn't even riding a fucking horse. Fury bemoans to the human Jones about how badly misguided she really was. With coaxing from the latter, Fury finds herself in the main hall of the Maker's Haven. With Ulthane's help, she's able to get to the chamber of the Charred Council to face Envy. With a new resolve, Fury sets out on her final task to defeat Envy and admonish the traitorous court for all of their conniving. Envy, meanwhile, makes battle with the council in their domain, boasting of how they spent too long behind their table and lack the ability to fend for themselves. Oh no, they're going to have to fight the embodiment of tables as well. With new resolve, Fury sets out on her final task to defeat Envy. The council is irate that she would so brazenly attack their altar, but the sin merely scoffs it off. You laugh things off, you don't scoff them off. Scoffing is something you do in the process of laughing something off. Saying those stone-faced charlatans were asking for something like this to happen, that they practically opened themselves to such karmic retribution. I don't think we should be saying karmic retribution, that's a different religion, isn't it? The council bellowed she would pay dearly for her power-hungry antics, but Envy laughed at their statement, seeing as they were no better than Envy herself in that regard. Stating after she destroyed them, Envy would simply wait out the calamity that the council willfully overlooked and dispose of any leftover factions remaining in the aftermath. Leaving what to rule over? The humans, who were all dead? I don't think she thought this plan all the way through. Fury made her grand entrance proclaiming her would-be manipulator and assassin had failed. The council commanded Fury to depose of their opposition, but their ex-disciplinarian rebuked their orders. Now, I don't think disciplinarian's the word you were after there. Now well aware that they no longer valued Fury or her brothers and intended to kill them all, after a grueling final battle, Fury finally defeats Envy and seals her within her own talisman, but the Charred Council confirms their disavowing her and attempt to destroy their former charge. Yeah, see, that makes sense. Fury resists when the council demands she relinquish the sigil stone. I'm never sure which one it is. They both sound wrong. Relinquish the sigil stone to them and then throws the talisman of sin that held the 7 deadly at their faces instead, causing it to explode, beating the Charred Council before escaping back to Earth. Upon Fury's return to Haven, where the Makers are guarding the last humans. This punctuation is driving me up the wall. She now realises this war was motivated by the Celestials' fear of humanity. With Hell's forces heading towards their location, the portal created to enter the council chamber is used as an exit strategy to save what remains of humanity. As the Makers and Jones make a final stand against the Destroyer's armies, Fury vows to protect what's left of humanity and prepares to depart. Man, everyone loves humanity. What's so great about humanity? They smell weird. and they have to poo and pee all the time. As she watches the fight, she realises the human helping the Makers fend off the Hellions is actually Strife. Ooh, that scamp. The remains of humanity are now safe and hidden away in another realm. Elsewhere, the grand architect behind everything knows what Fury has done, but still intends to carry out his plans of destruction. Naturally, because the plot of Darksiders 1 hasn't finished happening yet. After Fury and the last survivors of humanity managed to escape the final assault by the Destroyer's armies on their last hiding place, Lilith met with Lucifer. He expressed amusement at her report that Fury was playing nursemaid to what was left of humanity. I'm sorry, that was beneath me. But ultimately dismissed the actions of the Horsemen as irrelevant. Lucifer informed Lilith that with abandoning control of Earth through the guise of the Destroyer, the forces of Heaven and Hell now fighting for whatever scraps were left, and the Charred Council battling against the balance it professed to uphold, corruption would soon enough devour all of his rivals, leaving Lucifer as the only one standing. Satisfied, the Demon King then dismissed Lilith as he brooded on his next move. Yeah, I bet he did the whole Dracula sit. You know the Dracula sit. You gotta have like a wine glass in your other hand. In the true ending, where Fury attains an amulet of souls that the Lord of the Hollows transformed into and decides to use it to protect herself from the Charred Council's attack, the Dark Prince angrily tells Lilith that she was supposed to silence the traitor to the Dark Kingdom, before ultimately deciding that it did not matter since she knew not what she held. He mused that the Charred Council would deliberate on the matter, then make the mistake of sending war to Earth, which will lead to him destroying the Seventh Seal, naturally after killing Abaddon, and that he would rule over the chaos before dismissing Lilith. And that's the end of that. So the Lord of the Hollows didn't come back as the final boss. I mean, I did play that game. I didn't really internalise all the stuff that happened in it because of reasons that hopefully should be obvious at this point. Oh, blimey. Yeah, so that's Darksiders. I didn't think it would be possible for every single game to end on a cliffhanger. Maybe that's why they're so terrified of continuity. Oh no, we might have to end something decisively. How will we sell DLC now? Anyway, that's it. Boy, that Patreon subscription, worth it or what?